views and opinions expressed in the following program are those of the program host and do not necessarily reflect or represent the views and opinions held by TCN TV Network Incorporated. Due to the social nature of this broadcasting channel, videos may contain content copyrighted by another entity or person. The TCN TV Network claims no rights to the said content. TCN TV Network cannot be held accountable for the copyrighted content. TCN TV Network is a messenger and sharer of information and strives to verify but cannot warrant the accuracy of copyrights or completeness of the information on this program.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to another edition of On Point, your number one political and current affairs talk program. We're coming to you live from the studios of TCN Network right here in the beautiful city of Brampton. We're very happy that you have joined us as we discuss some more issues of importance to you as Canadians. So this evening, we're very happy to have with us the Honorable Prabmeet Sarkaria. We want to focus a lot on some regional appeal issues. You know, we are right here in the city of Brampton. I want to look at some regional appeal issues. Minister Sarkaria, welcome. Very happy to have you. Thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me on as well. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to speak with you, and I want to also extend my best wishes to you as you launch this new show.
All right, thank you so. Thank you so very much. Minister, I want to first just congratulate you on your appointment as our new Associate Minister of Small Business and Red Tape Reduction. A very, very well-deserved appointment. Talk to us briefly about what we can expect from your ministry. We have not seen a Minister of Red Tape Reduction in the past. What can we expect? What can small business owners across this province, as well as those here in Peel, expect as they go forward?
Well, look, I think what we need to recognize is that small businesses are really the backbone of Ontario's economy. They're actually the backbone of Canada's economy. And when we look at what's transpired in the past under the previous administration, what we have is Ontario in itself losing its competitive advantage across, whether it's through interprovincial, whether it's through different states in the U.S., the United States, or globally. And so, you know, what is needed right now is for Ontario to really have a chance at becoming competitive in the international stage. And so we've got to make sure that the environment exists for our job creators to ensure that they have the ability to grow their businesses, they have the ability to continue growing and continue providing high-paying jobs, and provide more high-paying jobs to residents across this province, across many communities like Brampton. And so we need to really focus in on ensuring that we create that environment. You know, just in 1 year since being elected, the policy decisions that this government has made has led to us creating over 190,000 jobs in just 1 year. And so we've got to continue on that path of success that we've had. We've got to ensure that we have well-paying, good-paying jobs for the future generations of this province. And I'm really looking forward to working to reduce some of that red tape. We're competing with the United States. We're competing with states like Michigan, Ohio. We've really got a challenge on our hands, but we got to really sell Ontario on the international stage. We've got to make sure that when somebody wants to invest, they're thinking of Ontario. And if they want to invest, we've got to make it easy for them to open up shop here. And we got to make it easy for them to grow their businesses, whether they're already existing or whether they're companies that want to launch in Ontario. So that's really what I'm really looking forward to doing in this new role, is just working with our small businesses and working to better the economy to suit the needs of the future and to ensure we have good paying jobs and jobs for the future generations of this province.
Be wide open, particularly for small business owners. You know, sometimes we know large corporations, you know, they come in, they can access resources, it's easier for them to get through. But the small guy in the Peel region, for example, who wants to open a small business, would he see the impact from your ministry as well, he or she?
Yeah, so what we want to do is, yeah, like through the ministry, we want to make sure that we support small businesses. There are many programs in place, and there's going to be many support services that we offer, but we're really going to be listening to the people and listening to the concerns of the small business owners. Sometimes small businesses get ignored, but like I said, they make up their primary employers in communities across Ontario. So we look at Brampton, we have an amazing opportunity. If you look at the city of Brampton in itself, if you look at, we have one of the youngest populations, we have one of the most diverse populations. When I'm going across, this province, all I hear usually is the fact that people can't find talent, they can't find the skills necessary. And I think Brampton brings that a unique opportunity to a lot of businesses because we're so diverse and there's so many different skills that Brampton can offer, and being so young as a population. So why not help, use the talent of Brampton and its competitive advantage and advance that on an international stage or even a provincial stage. So I want to continue working I want to work with businesses. I want to continue working with governments, our municipalities, ensure we have the right pitch when we're trying to land some of these big businesses across the province or in the city like Brampton.
For sure. Mr. Our time is running. I want to get to a quick announcement you were in Brampton for yesterday with your Minister of Municipal Affairs while you were here. So you made an announcement as it relates to housing in the Peel region. Can you give our viewers, the residents of Peel, just some information as to exactly what you announced yesterday and what that would mean for Peel residents, those in Brampton, in the Peel region? Mr. Saga Khalidan.
Yeah, well, look, so the goal of yesterday's announcement was to highlight the investments we've made in the Peel region. We all know affordable housing is a huge issue. Last year, we gave $20 million, which resulted in 155 new affordable housing units. This year, we're giving another $20 million. So there's a lot of work that's been going on right now that our government is doing. So we wanted to announce the fact that we're putting that much, investing into the region of Peel and ensuring that the most vulnerable have an opportunity to afford homes. And that was also a central theme of that was, discussing the new piece of legislation that our government put forward that was just passed in the previous session right before we adjourned for the summer. And that was the More Homes, More Choice Act, recognizing the fact that we need to increase supply, we need to reduce the red tape that's involved in these projects, unnecessary red tape, and ensure that we can offer more choice for some of our consumers. We got to make sure that we align we got to make sure we align and ensure that we take steps as a government to ensure that people have access to more homes. We increase the supply and try to make house ownership more affordable. We all know the struggles, whether it's in Brampton, whether it's in Mississauga. These are concerns that our government has seen and things that we want to counter and things that we're getting right to work on. So it was great to have Minister Clark in discussing the piece of legislation and the investments that we have made into Peel Region over the past year.
So we have also a minute and a half to go. But can you talk to us as well? A part of your announcements, you were looking at things like secondary units, tiny homes. Do we see those as being practical in the city of Brampton, in the region of Peel, for example? What kind of legislation are you looking towards? I know the city has been struggling with secondary units, basement apartments. From the provincial level, what kind of legislations are you looking at to kind of help deal with the issue of secondary units and tiny homes? The increased homes.
Well, look, what we're going to do is we're going to work with our council partners to find solutions to these issues, and we're going to come up with some innovative solutions. And so when we look at secondary units, how can we make sure that people who do have secondary units or want to make secondary units, we've really got to consult the city and we've really got to consult the municipality, the region, and really come to a conclusion together. It's about working together on this part of the on this file and ensuring we have the right tools and resources necessary. We've held extensive consultations on this process. Moving forward, we're going to continue holding consultations on the process, and we're really looking for feedback to see how we can improve. We're really looking for feedback, and we're really looking forward to working with municipalities on whether it's issues like second units, how do we get more purpose-built, apartments or or purpose-built rentals. So a lot of work that needs to be done, a lot of conversations that are being had that need to continue to be had. And we're really excited for the opportunity to do that. And I think it's going to be a good chance for us to work together, whether it's with municipality or city, and all three levels of government to really get down and fix this issue.
Minister, thank you so very much for joining us. We are just about out of time for this segment. We congratulate you again on your new role, and we look forward to having you on our program again as we discuss some great issues of importance to Canadians. Thank you very much, Minister, for coming on. Stay tuned with us. We'll go to a commercial break, and then we invite you to come back right here on Point as we tackle some of these other important issues. Stay with us.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity and our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. May your dreams all come true. Happy birthday to you.
We refuse to promote, report on anything negative in the community.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see that anymore is because
the ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
Welcome back to On Point, your number one political and current affairs talk show program. We're looking at some regional of Peel issues. We were just lucky to have with us Minister Prabmeet Sarkaria, who is the Associate Minister for Small Business as well as Minister for Red Tape Reduction. Mario, we have with us joining our panelist this evening. We have Mr. Mario Russo, who is a businessman right here in downtown Brampton. We have Tina Larsen as well, a businesswoman, a self-made Canadian businesswoman right here in the city of Brampton. And joining us, we have attorney at law, Mr. Wesley Jackson, who is also joining us. Welcome. So, Mario, we're going to go straight to you first. The minister just talked about the announcement that they made for the region of Peel in terms of money available for low-income housing. $20 million was announced for low-income housing in our region, another $17.7 million to do repairs. is this adequate to deal with our issue of need for low-income housing in the region?
In terms of adequacy, I think there's never enough. I think we're such a large region and municipality that we always need funding. It's a great start. I do applaud. There was another announcement I noticed today in Milton as well. So it's a great start. $20 million can really get us going. However, is it enough? Absolutely not. We need the provincial government and the federal government to step up, and then how those dollars are utilized. We'll discuss further, but I think how those dollars are utilized and actually implemented to creating true affordable housing is a very important aspect.
Yeah. Tina, let's step back a little to look at this. In the GTA, the average cost of a house is said to be about $838,000. You know, in Mississauga, the average cost of a single detached house is about $1 million. In Brampton, the average cost of a house is about $850,000. These are some numbers from the minister yesterday. You know, if you want to rent a one-bedroom apartment in the GTA, in Toronto, in the GTA, the average cost is $2,100 per month for a one-bedroom apartment. In Brampton, it's saying that average cost is $1,700. Tina, how are young people going to afford housing in the city?
In the GTA, it's almost impossible. But I think that in Brampton, it's not affordable, but it's still doable. I think that there definitely needs to be some help on educating the young people on their finances and, you know, helping them along, understanding, you know, what it takes. I think that the concern is still that there's no real rental available for a reasonable price for young students who are, you know, young graduate who come out of university ready to take on their career, and then they got nowhere to live other than under mom and dad's roof or possibly buy a house. And it's almost impossible to come out of university and, you know, buy a house. That's almost impossible to do that, or it is impossible unless you have help. And so we need to create that kind of housing for them too. It's not just for, you know, the underfortunate people. It's also for every young person that's out there. You know, we got to help them out a little bit.
For sure. Wesley Jackson, you're there with us. Where are young people going to live? You know, when you leave university, how long are young people required to stay with mom and dad, as Tina is saying at the beginning, before they can get into the housing market? What's going on?
You know, the State Association has alarm bell for a while. They call it the missing middle. There's nowhere. So they're gravitating towards the downtown of Russo because there are more available units for them. In Brampton, we have also 12 units, and then we have 4 or 5 bedroom homes. How does that appeal to a 22-year-old who's just finished university and wants a career? It doesn't. The supply isn't here. And so all across the province, and particularly in Peel, we have to tackle the middle. We have to listen to the so this is their bread and butter. They know better than the rest of us what's missing in our housing mix. To tackle that, we need policies to that. We need to incentivize, and we can double down by incentivizing transit routes to bring down overall living on top of housing costs. So there's real opportunities. And then, you know, you also get into zoning mix. I spoke when I was running for mayor about the Hedges factory that they just torn. The front lawn Hedges factory had 3 4-story apartment buildings on it without having taken down any of the factory. So can you imagine the opportunities we have throughout our industrial sections to repurpose land for zoning, land for some of these developments?
Wesley, let's get back to you a bit there. We're having a challenge with the volume. We'll get back to that volume in a second. I think one of the challenges that Wesley was referring to there, Mario, is the issue to do with, you know, making housing stock available in terms of zoning, you know, making sure that we can have more units built to bring the prices down for young people. How do we get that going in our city? I mean, we have a lot of industrial lands available. You know, how do we get more housing stock?
Well, you know, simply, I think there's a debate or a dilemma we have. It's the chicken and egg argument. Inventory, we are obviously low in inventory. How do you create an environment that people want to invest in your community and build that inventory? A lot of that depends on proper infrastructure. creating proper transit, creating an environment that the investor feels comfortable that that inventory is going to be purchased at a fair price. So it creates a dilemma that we now need to. One good thing that I believe our council just did is they implemented an incentive program for commercial and business developments.
Yeah.
There may be some type of incentive based for single rentals of under 750 square feet, whatever the number is. I mean, there is something that we need to look at and create an environment that people are willing to invest. Because if the investor is not willing to do it, they're doing it somewhere else. They're not doing it here in Brampton.
Tina, we have been struggling for a while in the Peel region as it relates to housing, for example, secondary units, basement apartments. Why is it that we can't, get them regulated? Why is it that we can't open up the opportunities for people to be able to rent out their basements to kind of get more housing stock available?
So to me, that's one of the things that I think would definitely be a big bonus in Peel region, period. Like, I'm not sure what the biggest issues are with the basement apartments, but I think, for not only homeowners, so now you've come out of university, you've had your job, you rent it, now you can afford to buy your house, and now you have the opportunity to rent out your basement and, maintain it nicely in that, and a student has the opportunity to rent something at some normal level renting, and I think it's a positive all the way around. Yes, it needs to be regulated, but I don't think this full ban on it is necessarily a good thing.
Yeah, Mario, want to chip in on that? I mean,
well, I think perhaps even Wesley will talk to some of the legalities. But one of the things I think is that, and I think Minister Sarkaria mentioned it. It needs to be a fundamental relationship and working together between municipality and province. There's obviously the safety issue. There's the point of how basement apartments affect the infrastructure of our city, and how is that regulated? A person who owns a home right now pays X amount of taxes. You rent out your basement, you're still paying the same amount of taxes. How is that going? That's right, and there's a burden on our infrastructure. So how is that going to be rectified? That is a hard solution, but the municipality and province need to work together on finding that solution.
Well, if we could get Wesley back, hopefully we have his audio a little bit better. Wesley, if you could talk to us some more, you were mentioning about these secondary units and the need to make more available to younger people or to Bramptonians and people in Peel on a whole, in terms of having somewhere decent to live.
Absolutely, and I don't know if you can hear me better. Is that better? So the economics of a basement apartment are actually interesting because you can build out a secondary unit in your home for anywhere between $30,000 and $50,000 for like a nice, safe, registrable apartment. Compare that to $150 a square foot to build a segregated, separate unit, say in your backyard. The math just doesn't add up. The secondary unit is financially far superior. The question we have to ask is, if we're going to be competitive to attract this demographic into our city, do they want to live in basement apartments? Or do apartments? Do they want to live in an entertainment district? No offense, homeowners who have basement apartments, but when I graduated university, my dream was not to live in a basement apartment in the M section. I wanted to be where the action was. And we have to factor in that some of the demand for it is being driven by our sub 1% vacancy rate, not by any desire to live in someone's basement under their rules on their property with an eye over your shoulder for the housing sector from the city coming along. We have to really tackle desirable housing.
Well, so we'll pick up after the break. We have to take a quick commercial break. We'll come right back. We're talking regional issues. We'll take a look at our regional government structure and the review, and we'll talk some more about Peel region. Be right back. Stay with us.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
With so many newspapers within the community, it's sometimes hard to tell what separates us from the rest. Most of the time, they all brag about the same thing. You know, the large circulations, tons of online views, and it can go on and on. But what really separates the Toronto Caribbean newspaper apart from everybody else? Well, it's simple. Our service. No, seriously. Hi, I'm Grant Browning, founder and CEO of the Toronto Caribbean newspaper. I have over 20 years of branding and marketing experience, and I've worked with countless companies and corporations to do one thing, and that is to raise their profits with their brand. With over 40 years of combined experience in branding and marketing, our amazing staff is fully prepared to sit down and figure out exactly what you need to stand out from your competitors.
The reason why you don't see that anymore is because
the ad is too powerful, bring too much people.
So what are you waiting for? Give us a call today. We'll be happy to help.
Welcome back to On Point on this Tuesday evening, Tuesday, July 9th. We come to you every Tuesday from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. We discuss the issues of the day. Today we're taking a look at the Peel region, the region of Peel, see how that's going on, various issues impacting us here at the region of Peel. We want to talk for a little bit, Mario, about the regional governance review. We were sure that we were going to have our first directly elected chairman of a Peel region in last fall's election. But, this government came to power and they changed all of that, put the elections off for regional chair. We kind of went back to what I call the old boys club kind of way of choosing a regional chair. Are they backroom deeds? What do you call them? How do we choose our chairs?
It's the politicians themselves that the municipalities choose whom they want to sit as regional chair. I think the time is long overdue for regional governance review. It needs to be looked at. Does it need to be abandoned? I think there's some absolute positives with the way the region is run today. I think there's a lot of negatives, in particular when you refer to business models, the inefficiencies sometimes of duplication and triplication. So those, I think, are the invaluable aspects of having a proper review. That's what I'm hoping for, is a good, thorough review. The debate on if we're going to amalgamate or separate, we'll leave it to the panel to discuss.
Tina, we should have known where we're going in August. The government has indicated that they are now going to wait until sometime in November to let us know, what will be the outcome of this regional review. Does it have more to do with politics or the need to do more review, more consultation?
I think definitely with the federal election there, they're not going to do anything till after the federal election. I think all eyes on the federal election. I think that everybody's watching closely. It's not something that he's going to want to touch in the province of Ontario. Okay. I think that he's going to leave that alone for now.
Wesley Jackson, you wanted to be mayor of this city. Is it as a two-tier system that we have here with one government in the city level, whether that be Brampton, Caledon, Mississauga, another government at the regional level. Is it working efficiently for the people of the region?
Absolutely not. And to your point, we actually count a city government, a regional government, a regional school board, a regional Catholic board, as we've seen with the provincial government interfering with Toronto's decision on the size of its council. The province governs, and the Fed. So we're up to 6 levels of government, all have a say in what we do within our city limits. The Riverwalk project is municipal, it's regional, it's provincial, it's federal, and it's not just duplication, it's overlap. And the problem is when you wanted to run a marathon, you got to go to the city of Brampton for road permits on city streets, the region of Peel for road permits. The Peel Regional Police, of course, it's overlap. And talk about cutting red tape and reducing red tape. I think the economic reality of Brampton and Mississauga When you drive down Dixie Road, when you drive down here, Ontario, you tell me where the border is. These cities have grown together, and but for the 407 and the 401, how would you know you've gone from one city to the next for most of our major north-south connections? And when you talk about integrating with Pearson International Airport, you're really talking about huge opportunities to integrate the region into a cohesive unit. If there's going to be a change, I personally have spoken out in favor of amalgamation. I think segregation of Brampton versus Mississauga is ego-driven more so than anything else, a desire to hold on to the balance of power when it comes to votes, sort of a manifest destiny on Mississauga's part to be its own city. I see the advantage of amalgamation in terms of, like, the other panelists have said, reducing some of the overlap and really creating a dynamic economic region.
Tina, we hear Wesley talking about amalgamation and the benefits of that, but people like to keep their government, your local government local. People want to know that their councillor is available to kind of come to them, come to their small events. They have problems with their trees on their street. They want a councillor local. Wouldn't that take away from the people, putting government further and further away from the people? The federal government is all the way in Ottawa. The provincial government is all the way down in Toronto, in Queen's Park. Are we pushing the government further and further away from the people when we talk about amalgamation, like where's the scene to be suggested?
I don't think so, and I think that if we, if it's done correctly, and that's why also there's so much studies to be done. But if it's done correctly, it shouldn't impact the personal touch with the people, and and it's all about your elected officials. How good are their jobs? Are they doing their jobs? That's where they're all going to get measured, because if it does go back to election in November, let's say this does happen, and obviously they're going to minimize everybody's council and regional councillors, and all that stuff's going to change. Then they really have to say what they've done. And for example, the last, since the election, it's almost a year. It will be a year by then. So what have they done this last year? And everything's very fresh in everybody's minds at that point. So they really will have to. It will be a very interesting election at that point. Also, I would say that.
For sure, Mario. As I want to come back to the point about people wanting to be close to their councillors. We saw in Toronto, for example, where they reduced the amount of councillors, give you this much wider area. Would people get greater service, the benefit of greater service by having a larger council, like we see in Toronto, or what we saw in Toronto, that yes, you reduce the amount of councillors, but then you increase the amount of staff.
That's right.
That is there to serve those councillors. So in terms of savings, the savings was not there. But you now take the councillor far away from the people. Is that what the people really want, or they want to be close to their local representatives?
Well, ultimately that's democracy. It just depends on whom the councillor is. There are councillors that have a huge population. Brampton in particular, every councillor represents the city, and then half sit at the regional level. Per capita, we represent, each councillor represents a large amount of people.
About 120,000.
120,000 approximately. You go to another municipality up north, and for that one councillor, they're representing 10,000, whatever the number is. So ultimately, it depends on whom you choose to do that job. It's like anything else. They should be held accountable. I think that's another debate for another day, because really, when you have 30% voter turnout at a municipal level, you're showing, and it shows, that a lot of people are disengaged from the municipal level. So we need people to be holding their elected official to a higher standard. So do people want to feel close to their government? Absolutely. I don't believe that that's always the case right now.
Okay, I hear you on that. So before this review, we were talking about the need, for example, for Brampton wanted a greater voice on council. Mississauga has all of their councillors, probably 10, 11 councillors in the region. Brampton only has about 7 councillors that sits, 6 councillors, 7 including the mayor,
right.
that sits at the region. Caledon has about 5 or 6, about the same amount of votes for us. Wouldn't that kind of review in terms of giving Brampton more councillors at the regional council get more done for the people of Brampton, for example, or correct some of the issues that we have in our region, rather than amalgamation as we are thinking of?
Well, briefly, and I don't want to take too much time from the panel, but we are very underrepresented in Brampton. That's ultimately, from a Bramptonian perspective, this argument can be discussed from different perspectives. But ultimately, with 7 representatives and having over 600,000 people, we are the most unrepresented municipality in the region.
And I want to add to that, and that's on every level, provincial, federal, municipal, every level we're underrepresented.
In Brampton, sure. Wesley, is there another option apart from amalgamation? I mean, there are other benefits to keeping the 2-tier system of government. Mr. Saga, for example, stated that they want to have greater control over their own affairs. Would deregulation, for example, having independent cities, would that also be a way to go? We have 1 minute.
Okay, so very quickly, you could simply go service by service, uploading and downloading. Garbage, where does it go? Recycle, where does it go? Road maintenance, where does it go? You can visualize the difference between a regional road and a city road just by driving down and gauging the cleanliness, because regional workers versus city workers doing the maintenance. And how microscopically are you going to investigate each and every service?
To the point that amalgamation is a better way to go rather than break it down.
I spoke at council about retaining some type. The problem with amalgamation on a business level, I think there's a lot of pros. On a culturalistic and a historical perspective, yes, there is an identity aspect that yes, Bramptonians, that people from Mississauga, people from Caledon, that's one thing I think they fear. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is.
We're out of time. Well, we talk about that when we come back from the break, because we saw that happen when the amalgamated city of Toronto.
Absolutely.
And today we seem to have Scarborough behind Toronto and not being a part of Toronto. But we talk about that. Stay tuned with us. This is On Point. We come to you every Tuesday from 4 to 5 p.m. We take a break and we come right back.
Are you retiring smart? Make your home's equity work for you. With your home's equity in our 30 years of experience, the Retire Smart Properties team can help you achieve the quality of life you've always wanted. Our services are 360 degrees. We'll give you advice, take care of staging and selling, and help you find the perfect home and community to transition to. It's time to enjoy the retirement lifestyle you deserve. Visit our website today to learn how you can use your home to retire comfortably. The Retire Smart Properties team, powered by RE/MAX West.
At Benjamin Law, we understand the real cost of personal injuries. As the victim of an accident, you may be the one who's physically hurt, but your main concern is that your family are the ones who will pay the price. Benjamin Law will be there for you, helping, supporting, and working tirelessly to resolve your personal injury case. Call 1-855-899-4878 or visit benjaminlaw.ca and let our family of lawyers help your family.
Hello, good evening, and welcome back to On Point. We are here this evening. We are taking a great look at the region of Peel and the issues that's impacting us. We are aware that right now we're doing a regional governance review to determine what we do with our region. Do we stay together with some fixes? Do we amalgamate? Do we create standalone cities? And we want to take a great look at that. Before the break, Wesley Jackson, we were talking about looking at the example of the city of Toronto. When they amalgamated all those small municipalities, town of North York, Etobicoke, town of Scarborough, Toronto was all amalgamated to create the super city of Toronto. We talk about communities losing their character. One of the things that people like is that they like the city of Brampton. People like the city of Mississauga. They like their local thing. Wouldn't we destroy the heritage, the character of our communities? Should we pursue amalgamation of regional field?
Two interesting points on that, and very quickly, number one, what's the mall called at Dixie and Queen? Is it the Brampton City Center? No, it's the Bramalea City Center. The people of Bramalea to this day will tell you they live in Bramalea. As will I get letters from clients, North York, Ontario. The government may be the City of Toronto government, but that's still North York, it's still Scarborough, it's still Bramalea. We will still be Brampton, even if from a governance model point of view, we are the City of Peel or some other name. But I'll tell you this from social media, and my brother is very outspoken about this. It is assumed that Brampton is a beloved entity, but that is not necessarily true if you take a poll.
Really?
There is a lot of negative branding surrounding Brampton in certain circles. And it's not every circle, it's not universal, but Brampton does not necessarily have the brand that we think it has. And when was the last time Tridel built something in Brampton? But you see it throughout the GTA. Why isn't it building here? One of the things I spoke about on the campaign trail was going to the big GTA developers that you never see in Brampton and just simply asking them, why not? Is it a profit problem? Is it a sales problem? Is it a cost problem? We can guess. But I think there's a real opportunity if there's amalgamation, and all my comments are prefaced by the word if, by the way. If there's an amalgamation, I do think it represents a real branding opportunity I touched on this earlier, the dynamics we have. What's the percentage of people who live in Peel and work in Peel? We can really exploit that to build something fantastic if we seize the opportunity.
You seem to be agreeing with Wesley in terms of the branding, the Brampton brand. I probably think that people like to talk about Brampton, like to live in Brampton. But as a businesswoman, do you see any concerns with the branding Brampton?
The brand is not great in Brampton, outside of Brampton. So it's great in Brampton, and I love Brampton. I'm proud of the city. I'm proud of what I've accomplished. It's helped me become who I am. So of course I have some more love for Brampton. But when you do leave Brampton, it's always been a conversation. Any board of director I sit on, for volunteer work and that, it is a conversation that comes up every time. When you say you come from Brampton, people tend to go, and that's it. And it's not when you say, oh, I'm from Toronto, oh, wow, really? Oh, and tell us about that. We don't have that same response outside of Brampton, and it's, this, like Wesley said, or I know Mario's going to say this too, is that if we can rebrand Brampton and become the city where everybody says, oh, really, you're from Brampton? Then the economics are going to change. Everything's going to change in Brampton, and that's, it's a hurdle ahead of us, but I think it's a great opportunity for Brampton.
But is it, Mario? Is it a thing with Brampton on a whole, or is it more an issue of leadership over the past years within our city to transform Brampton into a place that people love to talk about and really want to come and live and work and raise their families? Does council have a great opportunity here to kind of turn around the branding of Brampton into making it into something that can be celebrated across the province, across the country?
Well, that is very important right from the onset. The brand, the depiction that many people outside the borders of Brampton have is not always necessarily positive. Wesley hit a great point, is that why aren't some of the big players here in Brampton, is that it's ultimately economics. They cannot sell square foot prices what they can sell at Yonge and Finch or even in Mississauga right now. And why is that? There's a lot of reasons, and I think it stems from the neglect over the last couple of decades in properly improve infrastructure in our city, improving our transit in the city, and improving the desirability to live in the city, to the point earlier of you don't want to live in a basement apartment necessarily. We've had a great growth in city home over the last 2 decades, but our high-rise has diminished. There was more high-rises being built in the 70s with Bramalea Limited than in the last 10 years, and that's absurd. In an economic boom, to have more growth in a city of 600,000 people, that's what we need to change. We need to bring people that not only live in Brampton, but work in Brampton, and that's something that we need to focus on. So the rebranding and all those chicken and egg arguments need to be
challenge here for this current council in terms of positioning Brampton to be that economic hub, that hub where young people want to come, in terms of getting these, as Mario mentioned, getting these high rises around transit. We have the GO station, we have the Bramalea station. However, there is not much living taking place around these transit hubs. So, what do we need from this council to kind of transform how people view Brampton and how livable our city is?
And I want to say something positive about all the candidates that ran for mayor. 90% of the campaign was positive. I ran a positive campaign simply because the half of the perception of Brampton came from the rhetoric coming out of our leadership. Linda Jeffrey, unfortunately, made some decisions to constantly bring up her need to change the game and shift the dynamics in Brampton and fix the problems. Well, when your public messaging is 90% about the problems, you have to understand that while it may be good politically for yourself, it didn't do any favors to the city. And she wasn't the only one, and I'm not picking on her, because the 2014 election was very much about a piling on of Susan Fennell. It wasn't about different visions for the future. It wasn't about capitalizing on our resources. It wasn't about what's the next big thing for Brampton. It became a bit of a feeding frenzy. And I'm very thankful that this most recent election was a lot more positive based. It was about what can we build in the city? What can we do with our existing infrastructure?
So that question there, but we're running out of time. So is the frustration or the fact that certain Brampton residents, are leaning a lot towards amalgamation, does it have more to do with kind of to move away from the stigma, or do we just need to position ourselves within the region? We can be a powerhouse within the region if we rebrand or relook at how we do business within the city.
Well, again, let me double back. I said if we amalgamate, we have this opportunity. If we don't amalgamate, the opportunity is still there.
Okay.
Peel Region is an economic powerhouse. We leaned hard on the airport to supply us with warehousing jobs. Because when I was going through university, a $20 an hour forklift gig was pretty good. That same $20 an hour forklift gig is now a $16 an hour forklift gig, if you're lucky, because Amazon is cutting that back down to minimum wage for most of their jobs. So we leaned hard on an industry that wasn't leaning back. So we need to diversify the economy. And this council, I'm giving them credit, even the ones I don't like, wink, wink, they are doing a fantastic job so far that I've seen in getting the message out there about our skill base, our knowledge base. We've stopped saying bring a university to Brampton. We're finally admitting that Algoma is a university in Brampton and has been for a very long time. And the messaging is better. The messaging is about Brampton first. And I'm starting to see it out there in the marketplace already. So kudos, council, keep it up. And if you don't...
Well, let's talk about regional though. Let's go back to the regional a little bit. People feel disconnected somewhat from the region. Primarily maybe because so we don't elect who is chair, we don't know what the agenda is. So how do we get greater accountability from the region, particularly if we amalgamate? How do we get that accountability from the region?
One of the advantages of amalgamation, and Bonnie Crombie has brought this up, is that people will finally understand who the service provider is. Right now, the city gets calls that are meant for the region gets calls that are meant for the city. There is a certain logical alignment to be achieved through amalgamation. And the region of Peel is the accountant that looks over our books every year. The cities are the businesses that are out there getting things done. The region provides a solid backbone: wastewater, management, garbage, recycling, roads. It's a fantastic organization, and it will grow. And it will expand. Obviously, if it's amalgamated, it has to. 311 will now put you right through the region of Peel as opposed to the city of Brampton. Oh, let me transfer you to the region.
Tina, a city police force, if we have a Brampton police service rather than a regional police service, if we had a Brampton paramedic service rather than a regional paramedic service, which one do you think would serve us better as residents of our city?
I think that it should be all regional. I don't understand why it's half here, half in the city, half in part of the region. It's very confusing when you're dealing with it. I think residents are confused about it. I'm confused about it, like who belongs to where. To me, the force, like paramedics or the police or fire, and that should be regional. I think that if they were in need of funding, it's an easier pitch, it's an easier study. It's now, right now, let's say, okay, Brampton gets funding now because we agreed to receive some funding for extra policing. Where does it get dedicated? It gets dedicated to, I guess, Brampton Police. But what about the regional police? right? So it's a very, like, it's again, a two-step.
Well, we don't see a situation where we will dissolve Peel Regional Police and have a Brampton Police Service?
No.
Well, do you think if I steal a tractor trailer at Derry and Mississauga Road and I'm making a run for the airport, the Mississauga police are like, oh, sorry, they've crossed city lines. No, it's got to be integrated, and technology is allowing us to integrate our police services and our border patrol services. And
we're going to wrap up, but Mario Russo, the city of London, Ontario, for example, is a smaller city than Brampton. They manage their own affairs. They have the London Police Service. They have all their London paramedic service as a smaller city. We seem to be leaning and talking a lot about amalgamation. But how does a city like London, just south of us, or is that south or west of, or east, west of us? Yeah, just west of us. How are they managing their own affairs, and what would it take for Brampton, a larger city, to manage our own affairs?
Well, I think you hit it well. Can we do it? Absolutely, we can. However, where are their efficiencies? Police services is a perfect example. Why on earth would you have multiple police services when the region can actually consolidate that? As Wesley said, you're not going to be stopping at the border, and this is not Dukes of Hazzard. We're not going to stop and not chase them. It is something that we're already using. The OPP does the rest of Ontario. So there are opportunities that the region does make sense. Can Brampton do it? Yes. But why would we want to? And if we do choose, or if the province, so forth, chooses to amalgamate, or sorry, to allow Mississauga to separate, because we haven't spoken about that, is that one thing as a Bramptonian that I would be seeking is dollars back to the pockets of Bramptonians that have paid for the infrastructure in Mississauga over the last 4 decades. And that's something that's been set aside in Mississauga. And as a Brampton, I grew up in Mississauga, and that's one thing that, obviously as a representative of Mississauga, you're going to be advocating for your citizens, but this is not advocating. This will be legislation, this will be legalities, this will be things that will be tied up in courts if it's not dealt with properly.
For Mississauga to separate, if Mississauga separates, how does the resident of Brampton get back all the money that they have pumped into Mississauga to help build that city? Because I kind of feel like they took advantage of their numbers at regional council to make sure developments were in Mississauga, that they got the resources that they need to build that city. Would that leave Brampton in a worse position should the province allow for Mississauga to separate from regional Peel?
Are you asking cynical Wes or fortune teller Wes? Because I rather suspect from what happened in the last election that the die has probably been cast that part of a Mississauga segregation scenario involves the past is the past move forward on money we've spent in the past. I don't think there's going to be an allocation of the cost to build a police headquarters between Brampton and Mississauga, a cost to buy cruisers from one division to another. I don't think anything of that's going to happen. I think there's going to be the border is the border. You're now 2 separate cities, and start fresh, have a fresh election, have a fresh budget. What about the past? What about the past? And the reason why I say that is I don't see any of the other reforms, i.e. the city of Toronto, or the reforms coming to the beer store. There's not a lot of discussion about reparations for past expenditures. That hasn't been the dialogue, and I haven't heard any of that dialogue in any of the review governance discussions that I've been a party to. So I'm not optimistic.
Last point to you, Tina. Would that be a fair thing to Brampton if the province should allow Mississauga to separate? How do we recoup our costs? What does that mean for those of us who have been here for a long time, paid into the region of Peel, seen resources and developments? So right now we have the police headquarters in Mississauga, we have the paramedics headquarters in Mississauga, we have the CAS headquarters in Mississauga. So all these regional bodies have somehow find their way down to Mississauga. Should they separate? What does that mean for Brampton and reparations?
Okay, so I'm going to take the
compensation, not reparations.
Yeah, I'm going to take the golden opportunity, and from the business point of view, the way I'm going to look at it is an opportunity to grow, because even though, yes, we've put all this money into Mississauga, but let's be the past. Going forward, we have the opportunity to reinvest in Brampton. And again, like you stated, all these headquarters are in Mississauga. Why? Why are they not in Brampton? Why are they not being built in Brampton? They could have been in Brampton. They should have probably been part in Brampton. So this gives us the opportunity to change that. And so that's an opportunity. And, you know, we are seeing some differences on Queen Street, for example. There was a big announcement on a new condo being built. We need to see more of that. And I do think that if it's sad if Mississauga separates, it will cost us. But I think that if we have the right people steering Brampton, we will be successful too.
All right, that's it. We're getting the signal now to wrap up. This has been On Point, your political and current affairs talk show program. Join us again next Tuesday as we look at some more issues of importance to you from 4 to 5 p.m. right here on the TCN network. This has been On Point.